Doing, Tim?
Oh, he probably can't hear you. Let me.
Hello. There we go.
Oh, okay. Okay, here it goes. Let me mute that. Okay. We are good to go. Okay, here's Greg and Mary Kay.
Singles on.
Okay.
Good evening.
Hello.
I don't know why my computer took forever to kind of connect into Zoom. So, and I was a little late getting started, so I apologize.
Gonna cost you,
Fine. We're
Director.
gonna have. Looks like we're gonna have a nice little break in between this and the council meeting starting anyway.
Okay, good. Then I don't feel as bad. And I will. You bill me, Miss Councilman Minnick, for your time. I will. I'll
Sorry,
make it.
everybody.
Hello.
Good
Hey,
evening.
Pat.
Hi, how are you? So, I'd like to call the Fairview Park, City of Fairview Park Board of Control. We have, I'm sorry, Liz, we have everybody?
For Board of Control, I'm Dewey.
I see Greg's on there.
Am on.
Okay.
Am on.
Were
Yeah, you are.
Okay, were you expecting anybody else, Liz?
Apparently not, because no one's on here.
Okay. All right, so I'll call the meeting, Board of Control, City of Fairview Park to order here at 6:10. We have a roll call, please.
Yes, Councilman Minnick.
Yeah.
Finance Director Single.
Here.
Director of Law Riley.
Here.
Mayor Cooney.
Here.
And I am present, Mary Kay Costello. Thank you.
Okay, we have minutes from the September 8th, 2020 meeting. Those have been distributed. If anybody has any changes, let us know. If not, I'd take a motion to approve those minutes.
So made.
Okay, Councilman Minnick, was that a second?
I so moved, Mayor.
Okay, so moved. Director Single, is that a second?
That's the second, yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Minutes are approved. We'll move on to new business. Director Costello. If you could,
Thank you. The first item of business is approval of ductwork cleaning for City Hall. It's been brought to my attention that it has been a long time since the internal duct system here at City Hall has been able to be cleaned. And so we reached out to Mighty Ducts, Coit, and Smith & Obie for cleaning of the ductwork here at City Hall. And the most responsive and best quote was from Smith & Obie, who are willing to clean all coils, blowers, housing, drain pans, and all the mechanical components for $11,781.
okay.
And this funding,
Is
even
that even, Mary? 11,007. Even? Okay, thank you.
$11,781 even, and this would be included in our CARES Act expenditure. So this is part of providing clean air for the city. This would be something that would be finished before putting in bipolar ionization devices that would attract particles and remove even more particles from the air. This is part of our efforts to provide a safe, protected environment for our visitors and for our personnel that work in this building.
Okay, are there any questions about the bid or the project? Okay, if not, I'll take a motion to approve that.
So made.
Second,
Okay, any questions? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that bid has been accepted. Thank you. Want to move on to item number 2, please?
Yes, this is also a CARES Act expenditure. We would like to purchase bottled water filling stations from LK. It's a North Ridgeville, from Cleveland Public Plumbing Supply. That's Cleveland Plumbing Supply located in North Ridgeville. The model of the bottle filler is an ELKAY bottle filling station. This is currently being used at City Hall. And in fact, we had one budgeted to add to the 3rd floor for City Council before this pandemic. And so as this pandemic has unfolded and we had to close down water fountains at the Gemini, we felt that this was a great alternative to keeping water fountains closed. And we can replace a bottle filling station that had been leased by the city. So not only will we offer added services for our visitors to the Gemini, the senior center, to the Dunson room, to the 1st floor of the Gemini, by the banquet facilities, and by the gym, we're also creating a safer environment. So we're asking for those 2 bi-level bottle filling stations at the 1st floor of the Gemini and 5 regular bottle filling stations for the 2 at the 2nd floor of the Gemini, 1 for the senior center, 1 for the Dunson room, and 1 for City Council chambers, at City Hall, and some filters so that we can do ongoing maintenance for a total of $7,642.
$7,642?
$7,642 even.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary Kay, and it's my understanding that our service department has installed similar fountains or filling stations before, is that correct?
Correct. They have installed the one that is currently on the 2nd floor of City Hall, and they will install all of these. So we're just asking for approval to purchase the actual device.
No. Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Okay, take a motion to approve that purchase with Cleveland Plumbing Supply.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
Tim. Okay, Councilman Minnick, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, that's been accepted as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary Kay, if you can, item number 3, please.
The last item on today's agenda is for our sidewalk improvement project. This project is near and dear to our Councilman Minnick, Councilmember Minnick. It's in his ward, Northwood west of 210, Eastwood west of 210, Belvedere and Stanford are the streets involved with this grant-funded project for sidewalk improvements. And this grant is funding sidewalks to be replaced where tree lawn trees have caused trip hazards or safety issues and will result in a new tree being planted by the contractor. The engineer's estimate for the project was a little over $117,000. And our lowest and most responsive bid was from Daniel Schmidt Enterprises, Inc. We are calling them DRS Enterprises. Their references checked out well, and there was no unresolved findings. The bid was very successful. We had 6 bids, And the DRS bid was $27,971 lower than the next lowest bid. So it was a very good bid. This city is requesting an additional $12,500 in addition to the bid amount. Because the grant award has $131,000 at our disposal, we would request authorization to not exceed $96,658.82 for the reason that we would love to be able to provide free tree lawn trees in this grant scope. It's a grant approved item, and our goal is to plant as many trees as possible since we're offering an appropriate species that won't hopefully create future trip hazards. Their roots will be able to grow deep into the soil and not girdle at the top and bounce those sidewalks up. So what we'd like to ask is for approval to make expenditures with DRS Enterprises at a total not to exceed at this time $96,658.82.
Okay, are there any
That's
questions? Go
2
ahead.
cents. That's actually 62 cents, Mary Kay and Mayor.
Did I say 62? It is 62 cents. You're correct.
Yeah, okay.
It's 96,658.62.
Right.
Yep, that's what I have.
Okay.
Okay, and in the event we needed to come back for some more money, if there was people who had an interest in trees beyond the 12,500, we would come back to the Board of Control.
That's correct. We anticipate, because once we get started and people see what we're doing and ask if they can get a tree, we would love to be able to tell them, yes, just let us take that number, get a tally, and come back for a request for additional funding.
On behalf of the Council on Ward 2, Director Mary Kay, thank you for all the work on this here. I'll also thank Monica for the
Oh,
obtaining.
yes. Monica did all the heavy lifting, but we will appreciate you helping us explain why so many trees are coming down, because they are end of life. Most 99% of them have end of life issues, and those terrible girdling roots are really tormenting those property owners. So getting the right tree lawn trees in there is really important to us. We're really looking forward to that, and we want to plant as many as we can. So getting the word out to your constituents will be great. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I would accept a motion to approve the bid from DRS Enterprises in the amount of $96,658.62.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Single. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the bid is accepted. Is there any other new business or before the board?
None at this time.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? All right, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Okay, thank you, directors. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Liz. I think you're muted. Liz. You're muted.
Uh-huh,
Oh, there we go. There's nothing before the council meeting, right? We're just starting right at 7?
correct. Well, no,
Okay.
we have a caucus at 6:30.
Okay, I didn't see it on the agenda. I just want to make sure. Yes, I figured that was the normal
Yeah,
6:30
we have
thing.
a caucus at 6:30.
Okay,
I think when I sent that out, it wasn't the updated copy, but it is on the copy that's on the web and everything. It is at 6:30, yes.
okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Bridget? Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I didn't get a chance to thank you before you left on Saturday. Thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Sure, no problem at all.
Yeah, it was a great event. And had a lot of, I think, close to 11,000 pounds of shredded material and
Wow.
lots and lots of hazardous waste. So we were obviously pleased with the turnout. We talked a little bit about a couple things that we might be able to improve upon. And when we get a chance, when we meet on this art, the murals and so forth, maybe we can talk about that with you if you have some ideas.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But we thought it was went well, but then I had nice comments, but we're always looking to improve. So
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yes.
think it was a huge turnout.
yeah, it was
Very
it
constant.
was yeah. I never got a chance to open up a bottle of water. It was it was constant, but it was great. It was nice to see people. So
Yes, it was.
yeah, so thanks for your help.
Oh, of course, anytime.
Evening, everybody.
How are you doing, Mike?
Hello, Mike. How are you doing?
Do we have everyone with us, Liz? You're muted.
Looks like the only person we're missing is Brian. Here he comes. Okay.
Evening, everyone.
Hey, Mike.
Start a caucus meeting. We have no meetings or no minutes to approve, and we're going to do them next regular meeting of council, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Bridget, you've got a lot of legislation tonight, huh?
I do.
You all set with everything?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I was very happy you weren't sick. You better stay healthy,
bet.
little girl.
I'll try.
All right, so you're all set on everything.
I guess we'll find out.
Okay. Committee reports. Bridget, you also have a committee report?
I have 2 committee reports.
2 committee reports.
Yeah, from the 8th and then from the 14th.
All right, very good. It's going to be Councilwoman King show tonight.
It is.
Okay, roundtable. Ryan, did you have anything you want to talk about?
No, not today.
Okay. Bill?
Nothing, Mike.
Maureen?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Sarah?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Bridget?
I was wondering, Mike, if you could put into committee what council's response would be to the city's racism issue that came up before we went on break.
So you want to assign the topic of
Systemic racism
Systemic
and the
racism.
council's response to it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Is everyone good with that?
Yes.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, let's see. Greg, do you have anything?
I wanted to request the, what I requested last time to be taken off the next committee, the parking of commercial vehicles in residential neighborhoods. I wanted to request that be removed.
That it be removed from committee. All right, so second time around, you can make that motion, all right?
All right.
Okay. Mayor, did you have anything you want to add?
Yes, I wanted to let you know that there was going to be an amendment to the Gemini refinancing bond legislation, ordinance 2034. There was a typo in the second whereas paragraph. It should say 2020 through 2030 as opposed to 2023 through 2030. I didn't know if that was something that wanted to be addressed tonight or at the time of passage.
Yeah, we can address that at the time of passage.
Okay.
Remember to make the amendment on the floor.
Okay.
Yes,
And then I had a question for Liz. I didn't, with respect to the public comments, I don't know if she had received any, and really in particular to the amending section 12901 dealing with the restructuring of the police department. Yeah, I can't hear you, Liz.
You're muted.
I didn't see anything in my email. Did something come in today or?
No, I just was wondering if you had received something, because I was going to ask if you did, and if people had questions, I was going to ask Chief Upperman to join us. That's why. So, but if so it doesn't sound like. So that shouldn't be an issue. That was the reason for the request. Thank you.
No, I haven't received anything. I just searched my inbox again real quick and I don't see anything there.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I had, Mike.
Thank you. Director Costello, Director Riley, anything?
I just wanted to mention that Dominion East Ohio Gas is planning a large-scale project for West 220 between the I-480 bridge and Lorraine Road. We'll be putting some information into the newsletter about that, but it will disrupt traffic and be on both sides of the street. So in one lane of traffic will be shut down for northbound, and the tree lawn on the west side of the street will be impacted with boring pits and general construction. So it's a large scale project that's due to begin in October. If there's any, you're welcome. If there's any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, if we have nothing else for caucus, we can adjourn until the meeting begins at 7.
Sure.
Oh, can I say something really quick?
Yeah, go right ahead. I'm sorry, let's go right ahead.
So I sent you guys that tentative schedule for the rezoning for that Jiffy Lube construction or whatever. And just so you guys know that our next meeting on the 5th, that following day, I'm supposed to be putting a notice in the paper in order to keep this timeline and the dates that it's in. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up that that on that first reading, it's also to be referred, only because the 30 days is what sets the public hearing in motion. So if that notice is not done, then that will push our public hearing back further. So just FYI for everyone to know for that timeline. And if that's it, because everything else kind of falls into place after that. So Leanne said they pretty much.
Thanks for that, Liz.
Yeah. Leanne said they pretty much have the addresses in order because of the mailing they had to do for the meeting they had last week. So they already have those queued up for, because that 500 feet change from the adjusting abutting from the charter changes last year. So they pretty much have that list ready to go to mail out. So they will definitely meet their 10-day requirement. So that's it.
All right, thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Liz, for the time frame.
No problem.
Hey, can I ask a general question? Has anybody heard about Earth Fair reopening? Has anybody heard this rumor?
So I can tell you that I spoke with the property maintenance individual who said that he let people in that had signed paperwork and he was authorized to give them the keys to reopen Earth Fair. Now, that is the last thing I've heard, was that there was a walkthrough with some engineers and design construction people and people associated with Earth Fair. I have not heard that any plans have been submitted to the building department at this point in time. So
Okay.
we'll keep you in the loop once we see those, but it was good news for me. I look coming back, but nothing that I could say definitively they have a timeline or anything.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
I actually did have one question I forgot. Mary, this is probably for you. I just got a couple residents over the weekend. They wanted to know if we were going to do Halloween this year.
I get that question every day at home. Yeah, we got the protocols late last week. It looks like something that we can manage. So I don't, we're leaning towards doing it, but we haven't had a chance to go through the protocols in depth. I'm going to be on a call this Thursday with the Board of Health. I did talk to someone from the Board of Health last week on one matter, and we had some conversations about Halloween, and certain assumptions that I made probably didn't make much sense after I talked to him. So I'm optimistic about it. The details I don't know. After this call on Thursday with the Board of Health, I will have more details and we'll let people know. We're getting a lot of calls on Saturday. I had a number of people ask me as well. So one person did call and said she was uncomfortable participating, and it was suggested she just not turn her light on this year. But most people most people are interested. So so we're gonna work real hard to get it together and make sure it's safe for everybody.
Great, thanks. I think I saw, if it helps you any, I think Bay announced theirs was on today. I saw on Facebook, but this is FYI. Okay,
yeah, it's it's a Saturday. I'm told it's going to be a full moon as well. So this ought to really
so maybe not.
Yeah, perfect storm with 2020. So
yeah, right.
They may have it, but I may not be in town. But no, we'll keep you posted. So thanks for asking.
Yeah, thanks.
As long as we have a round robin going on. Hey, Mary Kay, do you have an update on the Mastic Road Bridge?
So I haven't had an update. Last time we spoke and visited the site, they were on schedule for an end of November, very beginning of December completion. So we're hopeful to see that that happen. I had warned them that in mid-October that I'd be back to ask them for another site visit. It's been an interesting progression as we've been watching their engineering and these incredible piers that are going into the side of the hill. So we've been taking some photographs, but I'll update you after our next visit. But that's been our assurance. I thought for sure that very wet spring we had would have set back the schedule, but they said no. They were right on the money. So
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. If next time I'll go, I'll try to send some photographs and an update to everyone.
That'd be awesome.
You're welcome.
Quickly, while we're on the subject of the Mastic Road Bridge, has there been any talk of any further avenues we can get to these footpaths? Tied,
Right, the Metro Parks has a $1.5 million application before ODNR for the walking trail. Part of it would be on the ground and it would join an existing pedestrian access that's been constructed to be part of the bridge aspect of the road. But we have not heard about the award yet. We've been talking to our community planner about aligning our grants this fall to bring additional sidewalk infrastructure to that area. And so we're starting to formulate our own grant application leverage off of this work and what the Metro Parks will be doing. So hopefully, all the timing will align and we can make that happen, but we haven't heard from the Metro Parks as to their award yet.
Thanks, Director.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Anyone? Okay. Nothing further. We'll adjourn until the meeting at 7. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead. Okay, do we have everyone with us? Seven PM. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order of the Council of the City of Fairview Park for Monday, September the 21st, 2020. Have a moment of silent reflection. All right, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Simmerly,
Here.
Mr. Minnick, Mrs. Adler,
Here.
Mr. Kilbane,
Here.
Mrs. Waring,
Here.
Mrs. King,
Here.
Mr. Berger.
Here.
Okay, we'll have this evening's committee reports. Finance Committee Councilwoman King, if you're ready.
Thank you, Council President. The Finance Committee met via video conference on September 8th, 2020 at 6:18 p.m. In attendance were members of council, Mayor Cooney, Director Single, Director Costello, Director Riley, Monica Jordan, and members of our community. Ordinance 2029 authorizes the purchase with PMP Valley View Holdings LLC. There were no additional questions or comments about this piece. A motion was made to place this ordinance on second reading at the regular council meeting following this special committee meeting, and it passed with a vote of 5-0. Guests Colin Calvis and Jennifer Kuzma were in attendance and explained the PACE legislation and answered all of our questions about it. Resolutions 2011, PACE 1, form of resolution of necessity for public improvements for Brook Park Road projects. Ordinance 2030, PACE 2, ordinance to proceed with improvements for Brook Park Road projects. Ordinance 2031, PACE 3, ordinance levying assessments for public improvement for Brook Park Road projects. Amendments to the PACE pieces of legislation were discussed and all of our questions were answered. A motion was made to place this resolution and the two ordinances up for passage without 3 reads at the council meeting following this committee meeting, and it passed with a vote of 5-0. Ordinance 2032 amends Fairview Park's codified ordinance section 129.01A and restructures the personnel composition of the police department. There were questions about this piece of legislation, so it was discussed that we will remain in committee, and the current chief of police and our upcoming chief were asked to join us at the next committee meeting to answer questions. A motion was made to put ordinance 2032 up for second read at the council meeting following this and remain in committee, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. Ordinance 2035, weed cutting charges for certain properties. This ordinance is so that we can submit to Cuyahoga County to be reimbursed for grass cutting that the city did to vacant properties. There was no discussion, and a motion was made to put this up for passage without 3 reads at the following council meeting, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. The Finance Committee ended at 6:26 p.m. The Finance Committee met again via video conference on September 14, 2020 at 7:01 p.m. In attendance were members of council, Mayor Cooney, Director Single, Director Costello, Director Riley, Monica Jordan, Chief Upperman, Lieutenant Shepard, Mike Sharp from the law firm of Squires, Patton and Boggs, and Matt Gudinski, and members of the community. Ordinance 2034, issuance the sale of Series 2012 bonds for the Gemini Center were discussed. Matt Stadinsky and Mike Shard and Finance Director Single explained the refinancing opportunity for the city. A motion was made to have this ordinance be on first read and stay in committee, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. Resolution 2012, allowing the purchase of police service weapons. This resolution was made for the retiring Chief Upperman, since he is not part of the collective bargaining and did not have the opportunity to purchase his service weapon. A few questions were asked, and the Law Director Riley assured us that the city does have the right to sell firearms. A motion was made that this piece would be up for passage without 3 reads, since Chief Upperman is retiring, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. Ordinance 2032 amends Fairview Parks Ordinance Section 129.01A, the restructure of the police department. Chief Upperman and Lieutenant Shepard were in attendance to answer questions and explain why this is needed. Since there was no representation from the union there, it was confirmed that the union is aware and supports this change. A motion was made to put ordinance 2032 up for third read and final passage, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. Ordinance 2033, authorizing contract with R.J. Platten Contracting Company for improvements to Thomas Lane Park. Director Costello explained the final grants received and answers all the questions, especially about the ADA requirements. a request to have this put up for emergency passage so that work can begin before the weather changes. And a motion was made to put this up for second read and final passage, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. Resolution 2013 is the 2021 tax rate resolution. Mayor Cooney and Director Singles spoke on this topic, and a request from council was made to the administration for a letter explaining why this is needed as an emergency passage. A motion was made to place this on second read and final passage pending the receipt of said letter, and it passed with a vote of 6-0. The Finance Committee concluded at 7:59 p.m. This concludes my reports.
Thanks very much, Councilwoman King.
Sure.
Take a deep breath and get a drink. Begin your legislative agenda with legislation for first reading.
Thank you. I would like to place an ordinance up for first reading.
Will the clerk please assign a number and read the title?
Ordinance 2036, requested by Greg Single, Finance Director, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with McGowan and Company for the professional services of providing insurance requirements of the comprehensive general liability, police professional liability, firefighter ambulance attendance liability, boiler and machinery insurance, comprehensive automotive and physical damage liability, public officials liability, volunteer coverage, property and equipment coverages, umbrella coverage, cyber protection coverage, and active shooter coverage, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Ordinance 2036 is placed on first reading and assigned to the Finance Committee. We'll now have legislation for second reading. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place one ordinance up for second reading.
Will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2034, requested by Mayor Patrick Cooney, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of bonds in the maximum principal amount of $18,750,000 for the purpose of refunding of the city's outstanding various purpose refunding bonds, Series 2012, dated October 30th, 2012, and declaring an emergency.
Ordinance 2034 is placed on second reading and returned to the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
Okay, it is now time for audience input on legislation that is up for passage this evening. Clerk Westbrooks, were we contacted by any citizens that wanted to comment on legislation that's up for passage this evening?
Received no communications on anything that's up for passage or otherwise.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll now have legislation that's up for passage without three readings. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2037 up for emergency passage.
Will the clerk please assign a number and read the title?
Ordinance 2037, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service and Development to advertise for bids and the mayor to enter into a contract with the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for modifications and repairs to doors and the installation of doors and door hardware at the Fairview Park City Hall, the Gemini Center, and Bain Park Cabin, Fairview Park CARES Act Door Project, as determined by the Board of Control, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I move that charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simmerly.
Yes.
Mr. Minnick. Mrs. Adler.
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane.
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Waring.
Yes.
Mrs. King.
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I move that Rule 53 requiring reference to committee be dispensed with and the ordinance 2037 be placed on final passage.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Summerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2037, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2037?
Mr. Summerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Ordinance 2037 passes. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2033 up for emergency passage.
the clerk please read the title.
Ordinance 2033, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwomen King and Waring. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with RJ Platten Contracting Company, 14490 York Road, North Royalton, Ohio, 44133, for improvements to Thomas Lane Park and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I move that charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that legislation in 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Summerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of ordinance 2033, is there any further discussion?
Council President,
Councilwoman Waring.
thank you. I'd like to thank former Mayor Patton, Mayor Cooney, Monica Jordan, and Mary Kay Costello for their hard work on this project. I know that the Thomas Lane Pocket Park has been a historically controversial project due to zoning changes associated with the property, the sale of the property itself, the development of Thomas Lane, and now a park without playground equipment. I am proud of the work that this group of people have done to bring the project as it stands to fruition. And I believe this project, as being funded this evening, is a great start to this property. I encourage and welcome the administration to continue seeking grant funding for this park. Thank you so much for the work that you do and continue to do to beautify our city. Thank you, Council President.
Councilwoman Waring. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2033?
Mr. Summerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King, Mrs. King.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Ordinance 2033 passes. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place resolution 2012 up for emergency passage.
will the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 2012, requested and sponsored by Councilman Minnick. A resolution to allow retiring Police Chief Eric Upperman to purchase a service weapon from the city and declaring an emergency.
Woman King,
Thank you, Council President. I move that Charter provision in Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of resolution 2012, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of resolution 2012?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Resolution 2012 passes. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place Resolution 2013 up for emergency passage.
the clerk please read the title?
Resolution 2013, requested by Greg Single, Finance Director, sponsored by Councilwoman King. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer.
Thank you. Councilwoman King,
Thank you, Council President. I move that Charter provision of Rule 49 requiring that legislation be read at 3 separate meetings be suspended and that it be placed before council for emergency passage.
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of resolution 2013, is there any further discussion?
Council President, I would like to move that Resolution 2013 be amended to include the passage date, motion information, and council member names where applicable.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to amend?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Prior to call for passage of resolution 2013 amended, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the passage of resolution 2013 amended?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Resolution 2013 amended passes. We will now have legislation for third and final passage. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2029 up for third reading and final passage.
Will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2029, requested by Mary Kay Costello, Director of Public Service and Development, sponsored by Councilwoman King. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to purchase necessary debris disposal services and road repair materials from Boyus Excavating and Boyus Aggregates and Materials, now known as P&P Valley View Holdings, LLC, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Prior to the call for passage of ordinance 2029, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2029?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Kilbane,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Ordinance 2029 passes. Councilwoman King.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to place ordinance 2032 up for third reading and final passage.
Will the clerk please read the title?
Ordinance 2032, requested by Mayor Patrick Giancuny, sponsored by Councilwoman King, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Waring. An ordinance amending section 129.01A entitled Composition of Chapter 129, Police Department of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Fairview Park and declaring an emergency.
Okay, prior to the call for passage of ordinance 2032, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on passage of ordinance 2032?
Mr. Simmerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes.
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger,
Yes.
Ordinance 2032 passes. That will conclude our legislative agenda for this evening. Great job, Councilwoman King.
President.
Okay, we will now have reports and communications from the mayor and the mayor's directors. Mayor Cooney, if you're ready.
Thank you, Council President Kilbane. I wanted to let people know that this Thursday, September 24th, the Senior Center is going to be having a concert at Bain Pavilion with Jeff Varga. Jeff is a local musician, acoustic guitar player, plays a lot of, has a very wide genre of music and as well as some of his own composition. That will be at concert will start at noon this Thursday at Bain Pavilion. If anybody is interested in joining the Senior Center, they should contact Laura at the Senior Center. We are working on reinstating our transportation services. We should have an announcement very soon with regard to that occurring, and we will pass that information on to all of you so you can share it with your constituents. In addition, we're also working on the protocols and programs for reopening the Senior Center. As with anything we're doing when we're reopening, we're looking to make sure it's a safe environment for our users and for our employees. This is a vulnerable population. There was initially some requirements that the governor had that any participant be tested prior to coming to the Senior Center. That has recently changed. Now staff is going to be require a COVID test on a fairly regular schedule. So these are the type of things that, when things start out, there are changes and we have to move with those changes. We have, in addition to protocols, looking at programming changes, but that not like they were in the past, but again, we want to get people together. So we'll keep you posted on that. Speaking of programming, at the Gemini Center last week, classes restarted. There were a number of classes. The Zumba class seems to be the most popular one. It sold out. It filled up both twice last week due to social distancing and other requirements. The class sizes have been limited to 25 participants per class, and again, those the Zuma class filled up on 2 occasions. Some of the other classes, we think due to the timing, there wasn't as much interest, so there's going to be probably some slight changes to the schedule, so that we could maximize people's time as well as their ability to get to the class. But we had a lot of positive feedback, and I appreciate all the work that Interim Director Mary Long and her staff put into getting those programs together, as well as Director Kemp and helping them put this together. We had sign up for flag football, soccer, and volleyball, and we had a lot of interest in those programs. Prior to those programs coming in online, the staff at the rec department had met with other other cities and to talk about best practices and to make sure that everyone's protected. We had a lot of interest in these, and we just want to make sure again that people are safe and feel safe participating. We're going to be opening up the gymnasiums for basketball here in the next week or so. It's going to be just for shoot-arounds. No games are going to be permitted. People can do some drills, but again, no games are going to be permitted. The hours will be limited from what they normally are. People are to come with their own basketball. We're not going to be renting any equipment for that. And the use of the gym for basketball will be after the classes are completed for the day. This Saturday from 10 to 3 at the high school parking lot will be Flea Fest. We should have a vendor list for everyone tomorrow, and we'll get that out to you. We've had a lot of interest in this as well, and I know it's been a fun event for folks, and we're looking forward to it this Saturday. Again, a lot of planning has gone into it to make sure that social distancing practices are in place, if the vendors are not too close to each other, that they're spread out one way, like Giant Eagle, the aisles, one way in and out. Masks will be required when people are in the flea zone. And I'd like to, with respect to the service department, I'd really like to thank them for their efforts at the stadium and the track. I was over there since I don't have a family member. I was unable to attend the game on Friday, so I went over there before kickoff Friday afternoon, and they did a fantastic job in getting that prepared. The field looked great. We had reached out to a turf company about some repairs as well as some maintenance issues. The field looked great. And then also just they did a lot of cleaning under the bleachers and throughout that whole area. And so I really appreciate their efforts there, and also appreciate the efforts of the residents. I know we had talked before about this is something that's our community's asset, and that people need to take care of it and pick up their litter. And we've heard that that's been going on. We encourage people to continue doing that there, but anywhere across the city. This past Saturday, we had a recycling and hazardous waste event here at City Hall. It was extremely well attended. We had a great turnout. It was a beautiful day. And as crazy as it sounds, it was really just fun to have a community event, even though people were bringing a lot of their trash, if you will. But we had the CERT team here helping with traffic. We had volunteers from the Shade Tree Advisory Committee promoting the work that they do throughout the city, also encouraging people after they shred a tree that they plant a tree. We had auxiliaries here helping, with street traffic. My assistant Kathleen Fan was working from the service department. A big tip of the hat to John Anderson, Mike Wilgus, and Matt Grandel for all the hard work that they did. Those three guys were back along the fence line where people bringing their hazardous materials. Typically, we have we have the Young Marines helping with that, but because of COVID concerns and them being minors, we felt uncomfortable having them join us. And it's obvious how helpful they are, because if you saw how hard Mike, John, and Matt were working, the volunteers really make a big difference. But they did a fantastic job in collecting the material, having traffic move along, and then they stayed late because there was such an overwhelming response. It took a while to sort those items. The planning and of that event and working that event, a lot of the credit. We got an email from a gentleman who complimented us on the. When I say us, I'm talking about Director Costello, Chief Upperman, and Lieutenant Shepard. We anticipated a large turnout, so we had people snake around the parking lot. We had 2 lanes for the shredding, and then people could, we had a couple of lanes of traffic to get to both points of interest, to the shredding truck and the hazardous material drop off. So I appreciate Director Costello, Chief Upperman, and Lieutenant Shepard's efforts on that. I'd also like to shout out to Councilmember Bridget King for joining us. She was busy. I can tell. There wasn't a lot of chit chatting going on. Yeah, there we go. There was not a lot of chit chatting going on. Everyone was real busy, but we appreciate her joining us and helping. And to the maestro of the event, community planner Monica Jordan. Monica, she puts this grant together every year. She coordinates the vendors, coordinates the volunteers, and in addition to planning it all, she was there working wherever she was needed, be it at the shredder, back with the hazardous materials, getting things planned. So I really appreciate everyone's efforts. I know I probably missed some people, and I apologize in advance for that, but it was just fun to see people out and about, people very conscientious, wearing their masks. People, we had asked if they called that they stay in their car, to limit contact. There was very few people getting out of their car. It just was it was really a great event. We shredded close to 11,000 pounds of paper. If you would have seen the amount of hazardous materials that we had there, we had batteries, oil, antifreeze, just cleaning products, just a whole host of things. So it's when you see those things at your house, you're like, oh, it's just what's the big deal? If I throw it away or this, that, or the other. Save these things, bring it to us, and you see collectively how much of a difference we all can make by making sure these things don't go in the landfill. So kudos to our residents for holding on to these things for a number of months. We were going to do this in the spring, and the COVID kicked us down to the fall. People had a lot of time to get their items ready, and it was clear that they did that. So I thank the residents for their persistence and doing that. And we need to build off of that momentum. That's important that we keep these items out of the landfill. We look for other ways that people can recycle. I know we had talked at our last committee meeting about the upcycle program. And so it's important that we do this. Next year, we're going to be looking at our garbage contract, and the cost will be going up. So any way we can work to limit what goes in the landfill, recycle, it's important. So I thought it's clear that our residents are in tune with that, and we want to look for ways to help them continue to do that. So once again, thank you to everyone who joined us in working and dropping things off on Saturday. With respect to finance department, we're still working on the CARES Act money at the Board of Control. Earlier today, we had the board approved duct cleaning here at City Hall, things that probably hasn't been done here in a long time. We anticipate that'll make this a more safe environment for our employees and our visitors. And in general, but certainly with regard to the coronavirus, we're going to have some bottle filling stations installed throughout the city, in City Hall, the Gemini Center, the Senior Center. And then I thank council for their approval of the door projects, which also will be, those funds will be through the CARES Act. And as we had a meeting today with the directors, people are still working on putting their memos together, to help with the audit next year of those funds. And we should have a report for you here in the next few weeks on that. And lastly, I'd like to, I know he is not here today, but I would like to congratulate and wish Chief Eric Upperman well on his upcoming retirement. The chief will be retiring Friday, October 2nd. This is our last council meeting before his retirement. I've had, in the last 9 months, I've had the opportunity to work closely with the chief and see his work ethic up front. I can tell you if he put into 36 years of effort like he has the last 9 months, the residents of Fairview Park certainly have got our money's worth and more. It's clear he cares about this city. He's a resident here. He cares about his neighbors and the citizens here. And he cares about his employees. You can see that in talking with him and working with him. He's very important that the residents get the best service that they can, and that his employees are taken care of, but also provide the best service that they can. He's very conscientious about his budget, which is important here in a city like Fairview Park. And again, he's actively advocating for his employees and the residents every day. As with any good leader, I think it's when you look at how the person leaves an institution or department to see the type of work that they've done, and he's leaving this department in good hands and in good condition. he worked hard to see that his employees had a locker room that was deserving of the work that they do. That was recently completed. I know Monica worked really hard with him and seeing that had been taken care of. And, again, he made sure it was what his employees deserved, but also within the confines of the budget here at Fairview Park. And they did a very good job. He's always constantly looking at ways to improve his department and improve his employees. I've also had an opportunity here to see the quality of people that he's hired since he's been the chief. We have a lot of good young officers and older officers as well. And, and he'd worked with them and his officers, his sergeants and lieutenants, to be good examples to the patrol officers. And, he's leaving our department in very good hands. So I want to thank him for his dedicated service, and I want to wish him a long and happy retirement. So thank you, Chief. Best of luck to you. Thank you, Council President Kilbane. That concludes my report today.
Thank you, Mayor Cooney. Director of Public Service and Development, Costello.
Thank you, Council President. Well, our service personnel did work hard this weekend and they continue to work hard this week. We're checking all of our leaf machines and making sure they're ready to go. Believe it or not, it's that time of year. And stay tuned. We're considering interesting and new signs to help our residents understand our efforts out there. So stay tuned to those efforts. We'll be removing the hanging baskets, the beautiful flowers that were along Lorraine Road. We're just going to remove the hanging baskets this week, but I'd like to take an opportunity to thank the Garden Club once again for their kind donation of funds to allow us to plant those flowers, and the volunteers that joined us in the spring. When we were still unsure about all of the pandemic protocols, they wore masks and they were, so helpful and kind in their time and generosity. But the time is now to start removing those baskets. It's getting colder at night and it's taking a toll. We'll leave those planters on Lorraine Road for a couple more weeks if they can withstand these cooler temperatures. But I wanted to take that opportunity to once again thank our wonderful garden club. And that concludes my report. If there's any questions about the East Ohio gas project that's coming up, we'll be disseminating some more information about that on 220 from the I-480 bridge to Lorraine Road in that area. So stay tuned. We'll include information in our newsletters, but if there's any specific questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Director. Finance Director Single. Do you have anything for us,
Chairman? Let me start by asking if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. The City Administration thanks Council for considering the items that were up earlier this evening for consideration, specifically Resolution 2013, the 2021 tax rate resolution. Thank you for approving that. That will allow the county to process the necessary paperwork to certify the 2021 tax rates for the community. And that concludes my report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Law Director Riley.
Thank you, Council President. Nothing this evening.
Thank you, Director Riley. City Engineer Kerber.
Thank you, Council President Cobain. I just have two items tonight. We have submitted the West 210 resurfacing plans to ODOT and are awaiting any comments from ODOT to finalize the design. And since the sidewalk program was approved by the Board of Control tonight, we will prepare the contracts for DRS and we will schedule a pre-con meeting for that project. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Engineer Kerber. Clerk Westbrooks, have we had any contact for the public session this evening?
No, I have not received nothing.
All right, thank you. All right, with that, we'll have comments on miscellaneous business by members of council. Councilman Summerly, do you have anything?
Thanks. I too wanted to thank Chief Upperman for his service to Fairview Park over the years. Only a short time being here, I know he's done a great job. I also wanted to thank the city administration for the work on Thomas Lane. As someone who's lived in that area their entire life, I know it's been a hot topic, but I think what we did was a great deal for the majority that live there. So thanks again for that. And then just another quick thank you to Walt Maynard and his team for visiting a couple of properties for me over the past week. He was really on his A game and got back to me really fast and visited the sites really quick. So I really appreciate it. That's all I had tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Minnick?
I signed a contract with Base Amusements this weekend as the first phase of 2021 Summerfest. I will also request a resolution allowing the sale of beer and wine coolers from Thursday, July 29th through Sunday, August 1st. I too want to thank the Chief of Police who replaced me when I left in '84. I wish him well. As we call him now, he'll be part of the Old Farts Club. And I want to thank and that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Minnick. Councilwoman Adler?
Yes, I too want to echo the sentiments to thank Chief Upperman for his many years of service and for helping the city of Fairview Park maintain high standards of safety throughout his tenure. I also wanted to take this moment to just publicly recognize the passing of former Councilman Pete DiPolo. I had the pleasure of working with Councilman DiPolo in the 90s. He served our city for a good 10 years. He was nothing but a gentleman and a devoted man to our city. And all I can say is we could use more Pete DiPolos to serve our city. I know Bill and I both had the privilege of working with Pete, and it saddened me to see of his passing. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Waring?
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to take this opportunity, as many others have, to thank Chief Upperman for his service to our city over the years. Certainly, this department would not be as great as it is without his leadership, and we appreciate what he is leaving for Lieutenant Shepard as he takes over the reins next month. So Chief Upperman, we wish you the best. I wish you a long retirement and a short honey-do list in the meantime. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman King?
Thank you, Council President. I also would just like to say thank you to Chief Upperman and wish him well in his retirement. And that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Berger?
I'd like to make a motion to remove the parking of commercial trucks in residential neighborhoods from committee.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call roll on the motion to remove?
Mr. Summerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes,
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes,
Motion carries.
that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I too would like to wish Chief Upperman a healthy and happy retirement and thank him for his years of service to the city of Fairview Park. Also, the chair is going to assign the topic of the city's response to systemic racism to the Local Government and Community Services Committee. And if we have nothing else for council this evening, the chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
second.
Clerk, please call roll on the motion.
Mr. Summerly,
Yes.
Mr. Minnick,
Yes.
Mrs. Adler,
Yes,
Mr. Cobain,
Yes.
Mrs. Waring,
Yes.
Mrs. King,
Yes.
Mr. Berger.
Yes.
Council is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
everybody.
night.
Yep, have a nice night.